Good evening and welcome to Resolutions for Recovery. This show is dedicated to the education and empowerment for substance use disorder. We are living in a world filled with addiction. And addiction comes in a lot more ways than just drugs and alcohol, unfortunately. However, here on Long Island, we are the epicenter of the heroin opiate epidemic in New York State. And I am sitting with this beautiful young woman named Krystal Stoddard, who is a peer recovery coach for the SHERPA program that Family Children's Association, in conjunction with Thomas's Hope Foundation, that we are currently in Good Sam Hospital. And after an overdose, and I'm not going to even say just an overdose, alcohol, whatever it may be that people come in struggling with, there's a peer recovery coach too, one for the family and one for the person struggling. Thank you for being here, beautiful girl.
Thank you so much for having me.
And before I even go on any further, in 2 more weeks, this young woman celebrates 4 years of recovery, and that's just amazing.
Thank you so much.
And you are the epitome of recovery.
Oh, thank you
really
very
are.
much. It's unbelievable. It's an unbelievable life I lead. You know, I didn't know it could be this good.
You know, and that's the, you know, so let's just even mention Kate Spade took her life, and it is coming out that she struggled with alcoholism.
That's right.
And there you go. Substance use disorder is alcoholism, in case anybody's confused on that, because we negate alcohol so much in this culture, in this country.
Oh yeah, we downplay it because it's legal,
because it's legal, it's everywhere, but it just takes a lot longer to kill you. But this woman who struggled with really mental illness, self-medicated herself, and ultimately took her life and left a 13-year-old child.
It's so sad.
It's so sad. Now, the whole country will mourn the passing of this woman, as they should. But every 2 days on Long Island, we lose 3 people to substance use disorder. Right. Where is our outrage? Where is our outrage? I don't know.
I don't know. It's really unfortunate.
Isn't it?
It is very unfortunate. That's why I'm blessed that we get to do the little bit that we get to do in our program.
And it's, you know what, it's not even a little bit, because for all those people that we touch, it's a huge thing. That probably didn't sound right. You don't actually touch them. Just want to clarify that.
Right. Well, the fact that people that we help.
That we help.
Right.
That we help start to lead a life or move towards a life of recovery.
You know, we're giving them that little glimmer of hope.
Yes.
That they no longer have to live that life.
And sometimes you just need somebody to hold your hand and say it's okay.
All the time.
Because I think, you know, people that come in struggling, first off, they're not trying to commit suicide. They just have such a physical dependency on their bodies, you know, and I know that most of the public feels that it's a personal choice.
Oh, yeah.
It's a moral failing. It's not. Yeah. Nobody chooses that life.
Absolutely not. You know, I went through my own heroin addiction, and there were many, many days that I didn't want to use.
Right.
But I physically needed to. I remember crying that I didn't want to use, but I was physically addicted.
You were physically
and mentally addicted. Yeah.
The pain from not using.
Oh yeah, I had to.
You had to.
I had to.
You know, the insurance company will say, you know, withdrawing from heroin or opiates won't kill you.
Right.
But you will want to kill yourself.
Yeah, let them try to go through it, and let's see what they say then.
And, you know, when they liken it to a bad flu, I watched my son struggle through that. It's not a bad flu.
It's 10 times worse.
Yeah, it's not a bad flu.
If not 20.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's horrendous.
It is horrendous.
Yeah. On a body that's already racked with other things, to put that through.
And you think that most people that are using substances, whether it's heroin, whether it's alcohol, or anything in between, you know, there's something underneath that's going on that needs to be dealt with.
There's something going on.
There's something going on.
There's always an underlying trauma, and you know, and I speak freely, you know, about my son, and from the ages of, I'll speak specifically to Thomas, from 12 to 15, we lost all 3 grandparents, and his mom and dad divorced. That's an awful lot of trauma for a baby coming into puberty, coming into adolescence, coming into, you don't know which end is up at those ages anyway.
Of course.
And then to have the very foundation of your existence ripped from underneath you. Now, could you blame that on us? Could you blame that on life? You could blame that on a lot of things. However, he was incapable, or
I was going to say, they don't teach coping skills.
they don't teach coping skills. And even when I brought him specifically to therapy, he was that person that kept everything
And
inside.
especially at 12 years old.
At 12, 13, 14, 15, you're not going
What
to talk
child?
about feelings.
Yeah, of course.
What's bothering you. Especially, boys
Yeah.
are a little
Oh, of
tougher to
course.
get words out of than girls.
Without a doubt, because it
Yeah.
shows a sign of weakness in their
Correct.
minds, which is the complete opposite.
I know.
I think anybody that opens up and shares their feelings, that makes you a strong person.
It does make you strong. It takes a lot of courage to speak about what's troubling you.
Of course. I identify with your son's story.
Yeah.
That's where my addiction took off. I lost my father at 20 years old, and that's when someone was like, hey, try this. I was like, okay. And I loved it. I
And you
didn't
loved
feel
it,
any pain.
because you didn't feel any pain.
I didn't have to talk.
You escaped.
It was
to
great.
wherever you wanted to escape to.
I was
and
in
it
my own
awesome.
world.
Yep.
So I totally identify with that.
And underneath, and especially with young women, I think we also see some kind of trauma. Could be sexual trauma, molestation, or something other than really something that's on the surface there.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
And what I've learned in recovery, and someone said it to me early in recovery, like, you're only as sick as your secrets, and what grows in the dark will die in the light. And there's so much truth to that.
Yeah.
Because I know for me, I had to go through a lot of my feelings and things, that had occurred in my life in order to be free, in order to even begin the healing process. And this is into recovery,
It's interesting. I met with, and this is different. This is my work job. But one of my clients shared today, and she lost her husband a few years ago, quite suddenly. And she just started some therapy. And she shared with me, she said, I kind of wish I was in a group because, I think it would be easier to be in a group. And I said, you're just hiding from yourself in the group then. And she said, wow, I didn't really think of it
deep.
that way. I go, so at some point in time, you have to tell what happened to you. Whether you journal it, whether you tell one person, whether you tell 10 people, it has to come out.
Yeah.
Because once it's said, it's no longer can trouble you.
It's not keeping it inside. It's like a weight is lifted.
Yeah.
A lot of women that I work with, I will tell them, if you're not comfortable with speaking about anything that had happened, write it down. Write it down. We'll tear it up. We'll burn it. Whatever you need to do.
Whatever. It's very powerful, and sometimes at night, if I wake up and something's really just, I do keep a pad next to my bed, because whatever's bothering me, once I write it down, or I'm making a list like this is what I need from the grocery store,
Right.
whatever random things come in your mind. But sometimes when you sleep, especially when life kind of knocks you down a few times, you just get up and whatever's bothering you, it's out of your body. Whether, it's like,
Whether it's racing in your
Right.
mind or
whatever it is.
Yeah.
Sometimes, what we do as recovery coaches too, when I work with families, sometimes they just need somebody to hold space so that they can say everything on their mind without being judged or criticized. And being silent is a powerful tool.
Of course.
Most people can't do that because they're going to tell you how to fix it. They're going to tell you what you
Yeah.
did wrong. You
How
didn't
to
do
live your
anything
life,
wrong.
yep.
Right? Just
That's why I always
Spill your
encourage,
guts.
even with recovery coaching, because we're blessed with the opportunity that
Yeah.
we get to walk this journey with other people, who may not have anybody else in their life,
Yeah.
may not have ever been to therapy.
Correct.
So we get to be that support for them, and I always suggest journaling. I buy them a journal.
I love that.
Because like this woman that we just helped get into rehab, and she was like, oh, there's a lot of stuff. And I shared with her my experience. And I said, I highly recommend writing. And she's like, well, I don't have anything. I said, I'll drop it off tomorrow.
Beautiful.
She was like, oh, don't go out of your way for me. And I
Because
said,
they don't
"It's
expect
not."
anything anymore.
Exactly. And I said, listen, you're helping me stay sober today. So thank you. And she was like, what do you mean? Like, what does that mean?
Right.
I said, this is how it works. I said, and one day when you're, get some sobriety under your belt, you're going to help another person.
You're going to pay it forward.
And you're going to know that this is how it works.
Yeah. Because
It
that
is.
keeps, when you stay in the light, so always, when you work your recovery will work.
Always.
But when you start to say, oh, I don't need to go to meetings anymore, I got this, I'm okay.
It's a dangerous place to be.
It's a dangerous place to be. It's
As long
always
as-
a dangerous place to be.
Even if it's not meetings, because I know meetings aren't for everybody.
Correct.
But do something, whatever it is. Like I encourage people, try yoga, try meditation, go to Thrive, try one of their support groups. Do anything it is.
Music,
to support
art.
yourself.
Just volunteer in a soup kitchen. Sometimes just being of service to someone else will keep you on the right track.
Without a
And I
doubt.
understand, especially I think with our population that is such a young population that unfortunately is really battling this disease, that meetings are very daunting.
Oh yeah, it's intimidating.
It's intimidating.
I think there's still judgment, unfortunately, depending on where you are.
Yeah.
And it's hard to open up in a big group. You walk into a room. I mean, for myself, I would drive to meetings and sit in the parking lot. I couldn't go in. I was
Wow.
ashamed and guilt and all that, not knowing that all the people inside were just like me. I didn't
Yeah.
know that. I was scared.
You were scared.
Yeah.
You were scared, but young people walking in and maybe seeing, men and women with 30 years recovery that are in their 50s, in their 60s, I don't want to be with old people.
Yeah.
What do they
Sometimes
know?
I feel that way, you
Right.
know? But you have to find, and there's young
You
people
have
meetings,
to
but there's
find your
not.
peep.
There's not a lot.
No, there aren't a lot.
There definitely needs to be more resources for adolescents.
I know.
Because unfortunately, we're seeing younger and younger.
I know.
It's
So
so
we-
heartbreaking.
We talk about that. So outreach, where you're going for your KSAC,
I am.
12 to 19-year-olds they service. And that always just bothers me when I say the age of 12.
Yep.
Rose Hill, which is part of St. Joe's treatment facility up, and they're really up near the Canadian border, but what a phenomenal facility too. Their specialty is 12 to 15-year-olds. What are
12 to
we
15.
doing to our 12-year-olds that they're already...
It's education. It's unfortunately, there's still schools. I've tried to get into schools and sat down with PTAs and principals, and they're like, doesn't happen here.
I know.
I said, but it does.
But it does.
And we need to talk about it.
And I think maybe this is something we can work on. I think we need to approach school districts a little bit different. And it doesn't necessarily, let's not call it the drug and alcohol talk then.
Right.
Let's call it mindfulness. Let's call it coping skills. Let's call it communication. Let's talk about how to talk about your feelings. Because there is no adolescent that knows how to talk about their feelings.
And they don't teach it in school.
No, they don't teach it in school.
I didn't even know we had a social worker in my elementary school. I had no idea.
Because nobody tells you. It's like the
Nobody tells
well-kept secret.
Right.
And someone just shared this with me yesterday. There was an assembly on whatever, I'm not sure the name of the law, but it was specifically for child molestation.
Okay.
And all these kids went to their teachers and said, I think that's going on in my house. Like, oh my God,
Yeah.
what are our communities and people, can they not see that someone comes in
suffering.
different? Can they not see that? I'll share, I remember going to a meeting at Thomas's school, and from 8th grade to 10th grade is really when we had so many terrible things happen in the family. And one of his teachers actually said in their outside voice, he was such a nice kid in 8th grade, I don't know what's going on with him now. I go, well, when did you start noticing that? Because now I'm getting, he goes, oh, I've been noticing that for a couple of years. And you wouldn't bring that forward?
Yeah, who'd you tell?
Who did you tell? Well, I just thought he was just a pain in the ass now. If you know a child at one
Exactly.
point and you know who they are, children are who they are.
Yeah, they're transparent.
They are transparent.
They're not hiding much.
And then when you see such a drastic change in a teenager, something's going on.
Yeah, you have to speak about it.
You have to speak about it
So
and
many
say,
people are so afraid.
and I
and it's-
completely understand the education system, right?
Right.
Because parents, it's no longer that the teacher is the person with respect. So if they say something, they're going to get bad feedback.
Which is awful.
Yeah, it's not right, because there's no school in the country that wishes to wreak havoc on children. They're there to be in and work in conjunction with parents to raise a healthy, happy young adult.
Yeah, and these children are with you for half of their day.
Yes, they're with you for
They
8
look up
hours a
to
day.
you.
So why wouldn't we embrace what they're saying instead of saying, not my child? My child didn't do that. Do you have videotape of them? And this is actually what they get. It's insane.
It's crazy. I mean, and teachers who just think like, oh, not my school, or parents, not my child. And I understand that. I totally do, you know.
I do too.
And for myself, I hid it very well from my parents. Like, you know, they had no clue until they did.
Until they didn't.
Until my mom knew.
Then it grows really quickly in the dark.
Yeah. But there's so much that these children need.
Yeah.
There's so much that they need. And I think, like for me, if when I complete my CASAC, they asked me in the beginning of my training, what population would you like to work with? And I said, I would love to work with adolescents. They said, why? I said, maybe my life wouldn't have gone this way.
Yeah.
Maybe I would have learned different coping skills. Maybe my, thought process would have changed. Maybe that wouldn't be my first go-to.
And unfortunately, in our society today, our babies, 4, 5, 6, 7 years old, are experiencing trauma within the household, working with different, people that we work with. I have nieces and nephews of people that are struggling, that they're afraid that, their uncle or their aunt are not going to live to see them make their first communion. No 7-year-old should be worrying about that.
Absolutely not. Or even if their parents are using, or
right.
There's a club you don't want to belong to, the kid that doesn't have parents,
Exactly.
It's so sad.
It's so sad. There's, they live in such a fast-paced world with too much access to things they really don't understand.
Oh yeah.
They may look older than
Right.
they chronologically are. That doesn't mean they're capable of having grown-up feelings, right?
Exactly. They're exposed to a lot more than I think we were as children. They're on the internet, on YouTube. I used to work at a restaurant, and parents would come down and just put the tablet right in front so they can enjoy their time. And I get it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not judging.
Right.
They want to enjoy their meal, but it's like I know what. Like I have nieces and nephews, and I know what they're watching.
Babysitter.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm just like, this is crazy. Kids have their fingertips, like anything.
Anything they want to see.
Yeah.
Right. So, it used to be good old family time, and when you sat around the dinner table and you talked about what happened in the day. So we've really been talking a lot lately about bullying. I participated in the psychologists and PhD conference on Friday in the city, yes. And actually, one of the psychologists shared with me that their daughter had been bullied, and at 12 years old wanted to commit suicide. So he's all in to try to help.
Yeah.
But this is how kids treat each other.
Kids are mean.
Kids are mean.
Suck. Kids were mean then.
Yes.
They're meaner now.
Kids have always
been mean. They're kids.
Yes, they're kids. And nobody's faulting them or criticizing them or judging them. They're kids.
But they're
That's
mean
what
to
they're
each
gonna
other.
Be. Right. We need to.
That's a huge
start
issue.
It's a huge
Because when a child is
issue.
bullied and they're not telling anybody how they feel about that, what do you think they're going to turn to? They're going to turn to something that's going to make them feel better.
Of course.
And then they're going to end up down a road they don't have to go down.
And point being is, they don't get to leave that at school because it's on their phone.
Oh yeah, social media, everything.
And they just get barraged with that 24 hours a day.
I couldn't imagine. I'm so grateful that Facebook and all that wasn't around.
I am too.
I'm so grateful.
Because listen, we settled everything in school. It was settled or it was unsettled. I'll meet you at the flagpole at 3 o'clock.
Exactly.
And then you went home, and you didn't have to answer the phone.
Right?
Because you had to answer the phone. And you were with your family, and you could just disconnect. So it's a crazy, and parents too, working 2 jobs, trying to keep up, all of these pressures and everything
Oh,
else.
yeah.
It's a lot in this world today. And we see it,
lot.
right, in the emergency room.
It's unbelievable the amount of people
In crisis.
in crisis.
And-
And we're only in one location
And we're only in one right now.
right now.
Soon to be at St. Catherine's in
Yes.
Smithtown.
I mean, we should be everywhere.
We should be everywhere, and every hospital within Catholic Health System wants us yesterday.
Oh, yeah, without a
There's,
doubt.
yeah.
You know, they're seeing how effective the peer-to-peer is.
So isn't it amazing?
It's
So
unbelievable.
What's amazing to me is this. All the data and up in Albany and everything that I've been listening to or sitting in when I'm there, people that come in on overdose, they don't want help. They just want to leave. That's been the standard report from healthcare professionals. And what are we at, 99%?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's the furthest thing from the truth. Before
the
starting
yeah.
in the hospital, I really thought that we were going to have to romanticize recovery or try to convince individuals to seek recovery. Every
Right.
single person,
Right.
I'm like, hey, I'm Krystal. I'm a woman in long-term recovery. Great, I need help. What? Okay. Excellent.
Right.
You know, so my question is what was happening before we got there, but we
Right.
won't touch on that.
Well,
But-
but we need to touch on that.
Yeah, because
So
it blows
it's-
my mind, because
it's
everybody
still
wants help.
The stigma and the shame of it in the emergency rooms. And listen, we have had such a phenomenal experience at Good Sam. The staff there
Unbelievable.
is unbelievable. They were very apprehensive, would you say, or maybe
Cautious. I think they didn't
That's the better
know.
word. I think they've been promised a bill of goods all these years too about getting help,
Right.
and then, yeah, what's this going to be?
Yep, and they're like, well,
Is this going to make our life even worse than it is right now?
exactly.
That
Like,
now
what are
we
you
have
going to
to-
do to fix
right.
it?
Right.
You
And
know?
now they're embracing it.
Yeah, without a doubt. Like everyone's saying hello to me, doctors, nurses, they come and get me personally. Hey, there's somebody here. I had a nurse run and get me. Hey, my childhood best friend is here and he needs you. Can you come talk to
Wow.
him? You know, and I don't, they literally came to where we sat, which is up and not in the emergency department, came out of their way to come get me. Hey, Krystal, they knew my name. Can you
Wow.
come speak to my best friend? And we ended
It's
up linking
amazing.
that gentleman to treatment
In
in
the
his 50s.
doing our in-service, right? Our
Mm-hmm.
in-service education, sharing around the room for all the healthcare professionals that came to that. Everyone's been touched by it.
Everybody knows somebody.
Everybody knows somebody.
Unfortunately.
And unfortunately, they're also traumatized by what they see all the time.
Of course. I mean, we've seen a lot in the short time we've been there.
I know.
We have. It's definitely a heavy role that we play. But
Yes.
it's very rewarding as well.
Yes, it is very, but what do you do? So let's talk about that. How do
Okay.
you take care of yourself?
While, I think
while
since,
triggered, or affected, or it's overwhelming
Right.
sometimes.
So since I've started SHERPA, because I've been working at Thrive, and that's kind of the when an individual is in recovery and just supporting that recovery. This is a total flip side. So
Yeah.
this is working in crisis. We're boots on the
Yeah.
ground. We're there. We're in the
Trenches.
trenches.
Yeah.
And we're there. And
We're
we're
in the
seeing
mud.
everything first. Yeah, we're in quicksand, and we're seeing everything firsthand. I noticed how quickly I needed to put more self-care into my life.
Okay.
That was the first thing I noticed. Even my girlfriend, she was like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, it just made me, it turned on something new for me, where I was
Yeah.
like, I need to dig a little deeper and take care of myself a little more, because I have to be the best I can be in order to help anybody.
Absolutely.
So
You know what? It
yoga-
used to be when my kids were little, if mommy isn't happy, nobody's happy.
Exactly.
So, what you need to be when you're caretaking for others.
Right.
I
have to be.
You have to be. You have to take care of
I
yourself
have to make
first.
sure I'm well, and I have to keep up front that this is for them.
Yes.
I know individuals that get in this field and use this type of work for their recovery. It's the complete opposite.
It's the complete opposite.
And that's scary for those individuals, and I worry and I pray, but for me, it just it ignited more recovery in my life. Like,
Wow.
I had to seek out more support for myself, because, we're seeing things and we're dealing with a lot of trauma and a lot of people that have been through a lot of things.
Trauma triggers, I'm sure you
Oh,
could.
without a doubt.
It's pretty overwhelming to see somebody be brought back from the dead.
Yeah, I've seen a couple individuals come in, with,
Yeah.
you know, not breathing,
Yeah.
and see them 20 minutes later revived by Narcan.
Yeah.
You know, and that, I mean, the first time I saw that, I was like, wow.
Wow.
Like that was, yeah, wow. That's pretty much all I could say.
Interesting, right, with the controversy, because there's still a lot of people that will say we shouldn't be providing Narcan. That's their choice.
Which is ridiculous.
And, you know, I don't think, no, it wasn't you. During one of the in-service, Dr. Jeff had finished doing his piece and we gave everybody a break. And one of the healthcare professionals went on for about 7 minutes about the ridiculousness of Narcan. And we shouldn't be doing it, and, you know, it's just a free pass, and all those cliches. And I said, oh, well, I'm going to disagree with you, because I'd sell my soul right now for 5 minutes with my son. And I wish I had Narcan in the house. I wish it had been available to me.
Absolutely.
So, and then the room, I said, oh, let me introduce myself. And he, you know, hung his head kind of sheepish. But I said, you know, let's talk about that.
But that's reality.
But let's talk about how you feel. How dare you decide and play God who lives and who dies?
Absolutely.
When we have a tool that is not expensive that you're giving to somebody who's sick and suffering. So would you withhold the paddles on a heart attack victim on their 3rd heart attack into the ER? Oh, you know what? You've been here twice already.
See ya.
You're out of luck. Sorry.
I
3rd
like-
time's a charm.
Yeah.
You know? I can't believe that was half an hour. We'll be right back after this message.
My age is 18 years old and my name is Evan.
My name is Sean and I'm 19 years old.
My name is Justin, I'm 16.
My name is Angelica. I'm 18 years old.
Marijuana, and I was 13 years old.
Marijuana, and my age was 13.
The first drug I ever tried was marijuana, and I was 12 years old.
It was marijuana and I was 11 years old.
Yes, and that escalated to promethazine, lean.
I began to take pills like Xanax, Percocets.
I began using other substances such as pills and alcohol.
I then went on to cocaine and pills and quickly progressed to heroin. I was 13 years old when I first started using heroin. I had like aspirations of going to like an Ivy League school, and that quickly, within like a year or two, changed. I stopped going to my classes, I stopped going to school altogether eventually. All my friends were kind of just dropping me.
I started getting in trouble in school, eventually kicked out. I got in trouble with the law a lot.
I wasn't really hanging out with a lot of sober people, just people that use. I overdosed at 15. I've been at Outreach for 5 months. Outreach honestly really helps you. It shows that you're honestly worth something. And it's possible to become sober if you put in progress. But it's not just gonna be handed to you, you really have to want to change. Inpatient, you can't just leave. You stay here and you have to deal with it. That's what I feel like a lot of kids need.
In a long-term facility, the counselors get to know the resident better, and they get to actually work with them more than in a short-term 28-day facility. And it really gives kids a chance to work on themselves rather than being rushed through a program, just to be thrown back into life, going back into the same old bad habits that they were doing before.
Coming in here, I couldn't believe how long I would have to be here, but after a couple months, like, you know, talking to counselors, I kind of came to the realization that, like, I need a lot of time and work to repair everything I've done.
The things that we get taught here, you know, it really does help you in life, and it gives you a different perspective. It's very important for a kid to have a family involvement in treatment so they don't think they're alone in this. We communicate on a better basis than how we used to. We understand each other more. And that was from the help of Outreach.
They come every Wednesday night for support group. They come to a group every other week.
They come to peer support group to discuss their problems also. My relationship honestly has got a lot better. Because I remember my mom used to never want to say anything to me because she would be scared of my reaction. I'm starting to realize in here, like, I really have to take advantage of the fact that I have her still.
When I was about 14 is when my parents realized that I had several different problems, such as behavioral issues, and the behavioral issues kind of stemmed from my drug use. I began caring less about myself and others. Outreach has really made me realize how important family is. If I was out of state in a program where my parents were not involved, I would have never been able to strengthen my relationship with them. My father told me that I've inspired him to make changes in his life, and that meant a lot to me. I've never heard my dad be inspired by something before, and I was just proud that it was me.
Krystal and I, we're a little all over the place, but it's okay because really everything makes sense when we put it all together.
Right.
Because we, you don't end up IV drug using heroin.
Of course.
That's not how we start on the road.
No.
To self-destruction.
Yeah.
It starts very.
It starts before you even pick up a substance.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the reality of it.
Yeah.
If you would have told me that I would have became a heroin addict, I would have said there's no way
Right.
that, this little girl was going to grow up to be a heroin. Even when I say it now, it sometimes doesn't even sound true. Like that was somebody else. When I say like, wow, I used heroin.
Yeah.
Like that's like mind blowing to me, but it's real and it happened. And
It's
it
real
ruined
and
my
it
life.
happened. Right.
It
ruined a very short period of your life.
Right.
But
it made me who I am today because I was
just going to
able.
say, but it was a journey that you were meant to go on for whatever the reason. People don't go into being social workers or, substance abuse counselors or peer recovery coaches because they choose that.
Exactly.
They've been personally affected by the disease of addiction.
Oh, yeah.
And too many moms, dads, grandma, grandpas, sister, brothers, husband, wives have been stolen by the disease. Mm-hmm. Really, quite honestly.
Yeah, and it's just every day. I can't go on social media.
No, I can't either.
And I always post like not one more.
Right.
Like let's keep doing whatever we need to do.
And that's just where we need to keep our eyes focused. Mm-hmm. You have to keep your mind and your eyes focused on what we can do, what's been accomplished. Yes, there's a lot more work to be done. Mm-hmm. And will we save everyone? The sad fact of life is probably not.
Yeah, but if we help one person.
Who helps one person?
Who helps one person.
I spoke 5 days after Thomas died back at St. Christopher's, quite by accident.
Right.
And about 2 years after that, I spoke to like 800 people at St. Joe's alumni dinner.
Wow.
And the very last young man that came up to me, because I think I spoke to 800 people, said to me, "I knew your son, and you forever changed my life that day at St. Christopher's." He was in treatment with
cry.
I'm going to cry.
Yeah.
He just said, "You forever changed my life." And I'm now a KSAC-T working for St. Joe's.
That's beautiful.
And I left there and I said, like, I need to go, because especially in those early days, really after Tom speaking out and doing different things, you don't always get to see. Mm-hmm. You kind of feel like you keep running into a wall. It was a wall I was willing to keep running into, but then, really my higher power said, you don't need to know all the people. You don't need to know, but know that I'll show you one every once in a while.
Right.
Just to keep you moving.
That's such a good feeling.
And I said, wow, because that young man, how many people in his lifetime will he affect changing?
Just what you shared, yeah. Who will help, who will help, who will help.
So that domino
effect.
is just, so no, I can't worry about what I can't worry about.
Right.
And,
I would say we're only responsible for our side of the street.
Yep.
We're only responsible for our actions, not the outcome.
And not the outcome. Plant the seeds. You're not responsible for the growth.
Exactly.
Just keep, you got to keep.
And that's what we get to do.
Yeah, that's what we get to do.
And we get to do this in a time where people are vulnerable
Yeah.
and they don't know what direction to go.
And they're scared.
They're scared,
death.
and most
Quite
of them
literally.
are alone.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we're very grateful to have Thomas's Hope be on the family end, and I think that makes us so unique and so valuable because every individual that I've worked with that does have family still supporting, every family member wants to support.
Yes.
And that's so crucial, you
And
know.
it's so important to teach them that they need their own recovery.
And that's the
that
bottom
they've
line.
been battered by this disease. And if you want your loved one to come back, we need to make those changes in the household.
Yep. And they have to be well.
Yeah. Everyone needs to be well. Everyone needs to know the difference between enabling, right? And I don't believe in tough love. I always tell parents, love them tough.
I just said that today.
Yep.
I just
I
said
love
that.
that
Yep.
statement.
I love it
Love
too.
them tough. You know, no, you
I
don't
literally
mean-
had a conversation today, and I said, love them through the tough times.
Yep. Love tough, not
Mm-hmm.
tough love. And because everything as a parent that you have to do, especially for a child, goes against everything there is as a parent.
Oh yeah, the natural instinct that you want to do, and you
So
want to fix, and you
is
want to.
there is it's not that they want to enable, they don't even know that they are enabling.
Mm-hmm.
And then you run into healthcare professionals who look at you and say, well, no wonder they're doing this. Look at everything you did wrong.
Yeah, and then they're
well, I
pointing
already
the blame.
feel like, right.
Yeah, which is
So
not cool. Yeah,
it's not cool. It's not cool.
Yeah.
It's an education.
absolutely
Always an education.
And a lot of, because I'll always ask the individual, like, hey, do you have any family on board? Is there anybody that I could put in touch with the family end? And they're like, why? You're going to tell them what's happening? I said, absolutely not. I said, they're going to focus on them.
Yes.
While I work with you, and you're going to get well, and we're going to get well, they're going to get well.
Yes.
I said, so everybody's happy at the end of the day, and we all come back together. It comes full circle.
Comes full circle.
And they're like, oh, okay, here's my mom's number.
Right.
Yeah, like that simple, because
you know
they
what-
really think they're just scared. Oh, you're going to tell them like what's in my talk screen? No.
No,
It's not their
it doesn't
business.
matter. And
Yeah.
that's the conversation that we have with the family. We know there's a problem, right? What's in their talk screen is really unimportant today.
Exactly.
I need to get you through the crisis. They're safe. Let's talk about you. Nobody's talked about you in a really long time.
I love our program. I
know.
love what we do. I really do, because
It's amazing.
It's amazing, and it's needed, and it has been needed. Because
For
all
such
these
a long
individuals, before we got there, they would get a piece of paper. Not saying
Don't use
that this-
heroin.
Yeah. Don't use heroin, or here, go to this place. Good luck.
Or just a list of
Yeah.
100 places.
And do you know what it's like trying to navigate that? And
You can't navigate.
when you can't even keep your head on straight at all, and all you want to do is use drugs.
If you're lucky enough to have a home, right?
Which a lot of them. I mean, to me, my addiction took me to homelessness.
Of course.
Yeah, nothing
You know,
else
a lot of
mattered.
no, nothing else matters. The drugs become the boss
They ruled
and
my
their
life.
best friend, right? Heroin was your boss and your best friend.
My lover, my
And
best
you
friend,
were
my mom, my dad,
kidnapped
everything.
from your family.
And I truly thought when I was using that because I removed myself that I wasn't hurting anybody. Genuinely, I thought that. So when I got sober and started having conversations with my family that, allowed me back in their life, and they shared with me how hurt they were, it killed me because I didn't know I was hurting them.
Yeah.
It's such
Isn't
a
it amazing?
selfish,
It's a selfish
disease. And I thought I was helping
Yeah.
by not letting them see me.
When I talk to people that are in treatment, that's the first thing they're like, I have to call my mom. I'm like, yeah, you didn't realize what the family goes through.
I had no
Because you're
idea.
just like, I'm doing this to myself. Leave me alone. They love you.
Yeah. They
They love
tortured my
you.
mom. My mom lost
Yeah.
her husband and her daughter truly at the same time, and to face that reality sober,
Yeah.
that's why I'm grateful for the support I had. I had a wonderful woman, Nora, who was there for me and guided me through
We love
recovery.
Nora
We
Milligan.
love Nora.
Yes.
Shout out to Nora.
Yep. Definite shout
We
out
miss
to Nora.
her.
We miss her a lot.
But that's what this does, and it's the same thing we do. Like, we're able to be that beacon of hope, that sober person that's like, hey, I've been there.
Yeah.
I know what you're going through, and you're going to be okay.
Right.
You know, I wish I had someone at my bedside when I was
I know.
trying to get clean.
And
Advocate for me.
you know, we still have so many barriers to treatment.
So many.
Insurance, you know, and trust me, 2014, I was there.
Yeah.
2016, we had all these laws written, and insurance companies just find a new way to say no. And we have to stay tough with
yeah.
that. And we will partner with the Legal Action Center. You know, New York State is so innovative and progressive, and I'm so thankful. You know, shout out there to Rob Kent too, and
Love me some
Commissioner
Rob
Sanchez, Commissioner Sanchez, who continually bring forward. So the Ombudsman program, where we will have people specifically to go against the insurance company for that immediate appeal.
That's phenomenal. It's not the fail first anymore.
Well,
we
that
know-
was never meant to be.
Yeah, that was just.
That was never meant to be. And that's what, you know, we were told over and over again. Thomas always had to fail at something.
Yep.
And now he's dead. So I guess that's the ultimate failure,
I
isn't
was
it?
told I wasn't sick enough. I didn't look like a heroin addict. I looked like a Catholic schoolgirl. Long blonde hair and, you know, skinny little girl. Oh, you look like a Catholic schoolgirl. What are you doing here? I said, I couldn't get into detox. I begged, and they wouldn't let me in. You're not sick enough.
That it's unbelievable.
It was
the same
unbelievable.
thing, but,
I went
you know,
to treatment sober because I had a detox at home. So I went in sober because I couldn't get in. And, you know, I couldn't tell my mom, hey, I don't need to go here anymore. I just, you know, fought this and battled this. And then when I got in there, they tried to give me methadone. I said, I don't need it anymore.
Right.
I suffered. You didn't let me in.
Right.
You know? So it was, my story is kind of crazy, but
That's insane.
it was insanity. You know, and then you have a scared mom on the other end who doesn't believe a word I'm saying.
Of course
When they
not.
kicked me out of detox 3 days later because I was okay because I
Right.
suffered already at home. You know, and then I wasn't allowed to get into the rehab that they promised me to. And they streeted me. And my mom's like, what? You know, and my mom got on the phone because who's going to believe an addict?
Right.
Who's been using heroin.
Absolutely.
And you know, and I don't blame
and
her.
wreaking havoc at
Yeah.
home. Yeah.
Like, why would she believe that? Oh, no, they kicked me out and I can't get into rehab. She probably just thought I wanted to go and get high.
Of course she did.
But that was the truth and that was going on. And she, you know.
So you never got into that 28-day program?
I never got into that 28 program. I went to New Hope, which was actually at the hospital because of Hurricane Sandy.
Okay.
Knocked it down, and they were doing construction. So I was over, I think it was Mercy Hospital.
Yes, in
out
Hartwell Center, yep.
So I was there for like 2.5 weeks because I couldn't get in anywhere. And then they tried to put me in a sober house that was actually a prostitution house. And a counselor came and he knew one of my good friends and said, you're Krystal, right? And I was literally signing my papers to leave. And I said, yeah, why? He said, okay. He's like, the house you're going to, don't go. I'm already discharged now with somewhere to go. And now I have to convince my mom that I shouldn't go there. She's going to believe me?
I know.
You know, so it's tough. You know, we do face a lot of,
Barriers.
so many barriers. But that was 4.5 years ago. Why
But
are we
that's-
still facing?
why are we still facing it?
That's what I don't understand. I mean, we hit so many barriers trying to get individuals in, and yes, they want us in all these different hospitals, but give us access to treatment.
Yes.
Let us.
And that's not really the hospital's fault, right?
It's not.
You know,
It's not.
but we'll talk about the barriers.
Yes.
You know, you promised at a crisis center that you can get in, and then 6 hours later, when the patient's been discharged, ready to go there, oh, by the way, no, they can't come here.
Yep. And then what am I supposed to do at that point? I can't say, okay, go back into the hospital.
Because they can't.
They
They're not
can't.
allowed to.
Yeah.
So what is, you know?
Now
and
we're
then
calling emergency services,
Right.
and that's not going to work. You know, your hands are tied at that point.
And then they're good. What are they going to do?
Yeah.
You know what
And
they're going to do.
They're going to go use.
They have to go use.
They have to, because they're going to be sick.
Right.
And they're fed up, and oh, you said you were going to help me, or you know,
And
this is what
see,
always happens.
And this is what always happens. And that disease.
Oh yeah.
See,
Go
you're-
use one more time.
You're not worth.
Yep.
You're not worth treatment.
See, you
See,
tried.
they just told you again. You're not worth it. Mm-hmm. You're not worth it. So let's go get high.
Yep, and it's unfortunate. I had someone literally stay in a waiting room overnight. Overnight, this gentleman stayed because he wanted treatment so bad. We were able to get him in the next day, but because a place told us that he was getting in, and then last minute said, oh no, he's not. Where am I supposed to go? He's like, I'll just go sleep at the train station again. It's only one more night. I said, no, sir, you don't have to do that. I said, you don't. And we set him up, and, you know, because I couldn't get him in anywhere. It was 11 something at night.
Right.
It was tough, but he wanted help so bad that he stayed.
He stayed.
He stayed all night.
So it's so wrong that we pay our premiums for health care that just doesn't exist. And it's still the same old problem as it was. So I don't care if you call it Obamacare. I don't care what you call it.
Exactly.
The health care in America sucks.
It's awful.
It's awful.
It's absolutely awful.
It's awful.
Even with I had a woman on Medicare. This woman's like, I did everything right my whole entire life, and now I can't get in anywhere because nowhere takes it.
Correct.
Nowhere takes Medicare. She's like, so why did I do everything right my whole life? And I'm like, oh, that scared me.
Yeah.
Like I have, you know, genuine fear for getting older.
Bridge back to life, though.
Okay.
Takes Medicare. Just
Good to know.
Yep.
I mean, I did find NUMC, they were willing to take her.
Oh,
you know,
thank God.
But it was very limited resources. You know, but this is all things we're learning as we go.
I know, but when you're in a crisis,
Right.
and learn as you go shouldn't really be.
Right. And that's why where we step in.
Yeah.
You know, because imagine someone trying to do all this footwork by themselves.
You can't because you're sick.
And you can't. You cannot do it. It's impossible, and you're going to give up.
Yes.
You know, so when everybody asks, oh, what does SHERPA stand for? I said, SHERPA. Like,
Yeah.
Just SHERPA.
Just
you know,
SHERPA.
because we help people navigate this system.
Right, just like and
like
that's what it is. It's on a mountain, that guide that's going to get you to the top.
Exactly. You know,
get you to the promised
and
land.
thank God. I wish I had a SHERPA.
You know, that's
I really
it.
do.
You know, and that's from my point of view. No one was there to help me do anything. They just was
You
like,
gotta
go
figure
home.
it out.
Go home. He'll be fine. You know, and that's the point. You should have engaged me. I was your best asset. Your best asset.
Nope.
You know,
They
it's
just
crazy.
didn't. It's so sad. It's just.
I didn't understand the
mind-blowing.
disease. I didn't know what nobody told me
Right.
that after 28 days he wasn't going to be perfect.
Right.
Nobody even bothered to tell me that.
Yeah, you think 28 days, okay.
He's going to be good.
He's going to be
My
great. Life, my
18-year-old,
whole world is going to be
My boy is
better.
going to be back. He'll be fine.
Yeah.
Nobody told me that
That was only the beginning.
that was only the beginning.
Life starts after rehab, I always say,
Yeah,
because you're finally a little clear-headed, but that's not even until almost 6 months.
I know. It
takes a
You know,
while.
it's so interesting that I wonder, and I think we still have to do this study of the cost of how many. Well, let's use you.
Okay.
How many rehab centers did you go to?
I only went to one because they wouldn't let me go in.
Okay.
So I went to
that's-
one and 2 crisis centers.
Okay, so the cost of that, right? So I'll use Thomas then.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, we probably were in detox at least 10 times, 20. You know.
Oh, I did detox too.
Yeah. So if they had let him, the
Stay?
most expensive cost in any point in time in any disease is that crisis. So the emergency room when they come in, most expensive. First 14 days in rehab, most expensive when you are really,
Yeah.
right?
Because you need medicine.
Stability.
Yeah.
You know, you're stabilizing the patient. After, say, 14 to 18 days, the cost starts to go down because now you're in group work, you're working with a counselor,
Right.
You're stable, right? So if we kept people in treatment for, say, 60 days,
Which should be a minimum.
which should be a minimum, because you're not going to cure a heroin addiction in 14 days.
No.
And then step them down to a safe, sober living facility where they did community service work and did
Peer work.
and went to intensive outpatient for the next 3 months,
That sounds ideal.
right?
That
So
sounds
if we
perfect.
did treatment look like 6 months to a year, and the cost would be so much less, because once you get into sober living, maybe you need a rent subsidy, and there's no reason why healthcare can't pay for that.
Right.
There's no reason why.
Yeah, that's just crazy. There's a whole nother conversation we
That's
could
a
have
whole
on.
nother conversation.
on
But
that, but-
let's talk about making people whole,
Yeah.
completely whole.
Well, I was just working with a young woman today who got 14 days. What do you think happened in 14 days?
Nothing.
Nothing happened in 14 days.
She maybe started to get some
a little clarity. That's
maybe.
it. Yep. Barely. 14 days is a joke.
And then, okay, go home and go to meetings.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Go back to the same environment, same people, places, and things. Good luck. And go to meetings.
And go to meetings.
That's unreal.
You know, I think how people feel they are disposable.
I know people that have gone to 28 rehabs, but that's okay because on the 29th one, they got it.
Right.
They got it.
But they got the ability to go. You know,
Right.
trying to get somebody into
Yeah.
28 rehabs. Well, we've done this already. It doesn't work for him, so we're not giving that to him again. And again, I'm going to go back to that heart attack victim,
Right.
that diabetic patient, that whatever patient. You know, just because cancer goes into remission and then cancer comes back, does that mean we don't treat them? Does that mean they failed?
That's
You
why
failed
it's
at
still
cancer.
such a
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's awful that there's such a stigma still.
Still such
you know,
a
and that
stigma.
stigma is killing people. That's what it is. It's killing people.
And I think insurance companies count on that.
And
You won't be my insured. The longer I say no, you'll be dead in jail. You won't be my problem anymore. Period. We'll save that money.
which is unbelievable.
It really is unbelievable.
And it's 2018. Like, why are we not
Not?
further along in helping people and not having the stigma and being in a better place with this? I mean, look at
know.
the number of deaths. We had, what, 600 last year? That's unbelievable.
yeah,
overdose, 600 overdose.
I think it was higher than that, but
The reported, I guess, that
Yeah.
I just read it today. So.
you know, we talk about that number though, but it doesn't include the families that can't admit and don't want that indicated as their death on death certificate.
Yep.
And that's probably not as often with young people because, listen, let me put it this way. When you read or hear about someone that's 21, 24, 29, 32 that's died and there's no cause of death,
the first thing you think of.
of course,
Yeah.
if it's not an accidental death, what do you think? You know, and don't tell me they had a heart problem or something. You know what? Let's be real.
Let's get honest.
Let's get honest. And then all those people from 45 to 55 that are quietly addicted because they were giving painkillers for being a weekend warrior,
Yep.
you know, and all of that quietly die in their sleep. So, you know, and we'll go back to Kate Spade. Her sister was brave enough to come out and said, my sister battled alcoholism and
thank
mental
God
illness.
She said that. I mean, that took a lot of courage to say.
And Kate Spade unfortunately said, what will it do to my brand if I admit to this? Oh my gosh,
It's awful.
that's awful that she
You know,
felt that
She could
way.
have been saved. She could have been helped.
Absolutely.
You know.
You know, we as a society have to stop pointing. Listen, I don't care what anybody thinks about me speaking out about Thomas. I got to tell my community while presenting to them. I was your
Yeah.
Girl Scout leader, your Boy Scout leader, lacrosse coach, religion teacher, PTA mom. I was all of those things in this community, and you loved my All-American boy. But when he was sick and suffering, he was that boy. He was stay away from that bad Thomas. Oh, let's not talk to Linda anymore because what kind of mother is she?
Oh yeah.
I'm the same mother that I always was. That your kids spent time at my house more than they were at your house that I
sure,
fed.
sleeping over.
Right, and all of those things. And if he had been stricken with cancer, you would have been bringing me spaghetti dinners every night.
Absolutely.
But instead, you turned your back. We turn our backs
Yeah,
on
that shouldn't
families
be happening.
struggling.
That shouldn't be happening.
No, it shouldn't be happening.
No.
Not in 2018.
Not in 2018. Not ever.
Not ever.
Not ever.
But quite frankly, not ever.
You
should
know
it
what?
happen.
I remember being in rehab and like I was able to admit that I, you know, had a drug problem. I always say they tricked me into getting sober and quitting alcohol because I didn't know how to do both. But I couldn't say that I was an alcoholic. I don't know why. I couldn't say like I was an alcoholic. I was okay with admitting I was a drug addict, but I couldn't say those words because that meant that I was and that I had to stop.
And then you had to stop.
And that scared me.
Yeah.
Now, with almost 4 years sober, I'm a grateful alcoholic. And I remember hearing people like in the room say like, oh, I'm a grateful alcoholic. And I would look at these people like, what? Why are you grateful to be an alcoholic? It's because I'm afforded this life now in recovery. So I'll proudly tell everyone I am grateful to be an addict. I'm not anonymous in any sort of way because I'm proud of this.
You're proud of your
I'm
journey.
proud of
You're a
it.
survivor.
You know, and
You're
my
a
mom
warrior.
and my family probably couldn't say, you know, my daughter is, you know, she didn't go away to college or she didn't do this, this, and this, you know, because I was a good kid all through high school. All through high
still
school,
a good kid. You were
straight
still a
A
good kid.
student, yeah, you know, but it wasn't until, you know, after high school, like my mom thought, "Phew,
we made it.
we made it, no
Yep.
problem. She shares it with me all the time. And then trauma and, you know.
You know, so that's why we see like people in Pennsylvania this past year, right, with that hazing incident.
Oh, yes, yeah.
We see that more and more and more. So it's not okay to give your kids the message that it's okay to go drink your face off.
Oh, not at all.
Because one family is forever changed, but so are the other 4 families that participated in that
Oh, yeah.
hazing.
I was petrified to go away to college. I knew I'd
Yeah.
be dead. I knew it.
You know, so we've been having this conversation, you know, especially psychologists will say, you know, you gear kids up to all of a sudden throw them out of your house. You're going away. You're going to be responsible for yourself. And by the way, oh, and you should be happy you're going. Most of them are not happy that they're going. They're scared that they're going.
Yeah.
And it's okay. Why can't they come and tell you, I'm scared to go?
Yeah.
That's not a rite of passage. Maybe they're not ready to go, right?
Right.
Because
you know, 18's young if you think about
they're a
it.
baby.
They're babies.
Right.
You know, and
And
they're
there's
thrown
nothing
into
wrong with
adulthood.
going to a community college for
Not
a
at
couple of
all.
years.
Not at all.
You know, it's not
It's
about
not the responsible thing to do.
right, living vicariously through your kids. It's about, you know, we need to be honest with them too.
Yeah.
And the whole paradigm with, well, they need to know how to drink before they go off to college.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. You know, and I knew friends' parents that would let us party and like, oh, we'll go to their house because they're gonna get it for us. We're gonna drink, we're gonna party, we're gonna pass out. You know, while I tell my mom I'm sleeping over Ashley's house. You know,
Right.
You know, I'm not being honest.
No,
You
you're
know,
not being
I'm
honest.
partying, drinking my face off. You know,
It's
as a
amazing
senior.
though that parents don't want to wait. They don't want to wait up. You know, the Suffolk County legislator is giving out free alcohol test kits and drug test kits. They're free.
That's great. How does anyone
So
get that?
for the summer, right? So they can go to any one of their local legislature's office.
Okay.
And I think that the precinct also, they can go in and ask for them.
Okay, cool.
So
That's a really good
why
resource to
wouldn't
have.
you drug test or alcohol test your kid? Because you
Right.
know what? You need to be the roadblock. You need to be throwing rocks in the way all the time. You need
Right.
to be throwing boulders in the way.
Absolutely.
And saying, you know what? This is not what our family does. This is not okay. This is not our health policy.
Yeah.
It's against the law for you to drink and drug. Thank you so much, honey.
Thank you so much.
So, SHERPA is at Good Sam right now, soon to be coming to a hospital near you by the grace of God. If you have any questions or problems, please feel free to reach out. You can find Krystal on Facebook. You can find Thomas's Hope and myself, Linda Ventura, on Facebook. If anybody's struggling, please reach out. Please reach out. Send a message. Help is but a second away. And don't ever lose hope. There's always hope for recovery, in recovery, and we can get you through it. Have a great weekend.